Gentlemen, I am going to give you the best advice in your entire life. This advice is going to change your life for the better. All you have to do is listen to it, and it's simple. Learn women. Now, for the guys that don't have a relationship with a woman, are currently looking for a relationship with a woman, you have to learn women. And my biggest suggestion, my strongest suggestion is don't learn women from men. It is the worst idea ever. Why? Because men are just going to tell you things to get certain things, and that's not what you want. You want to actually be in a relationship with a woman. Learning from a woman is going to be the deciding factor between you being in a relationship or having whatever family you want, or B, being the local neighborhood cat man that doesn't really do much or get out much. I mean, if that's what you want to do, no knocks to you. Gentlemen, the ones that are in a relationship, I can tell you this. You're probably excited. You're like, CaliEffect, this doesn't apply to me. I already know women. No, you don't. Show this to your girl. Because I promise you, while you think you may know her, she's such an intricate and beautiful person that you can do so much more to make her life happier. And I'm telling you, happy lady, happy wife, happy life. There are so many things that you could be doing different, or if you understood her a little bit more, that would make her so much happier. And she might not want to admit it because she's not necessarily a selfish person, but she knows it. Hopefully she tells you because of this video. Ladies, guys don't think like this, okay? I'm just telling you right now, you need to tell him. And I know it's hard to do, but you need to tell him that you know, that's what he needs to do, because he won't do it unless you tell him, I'm sorry, we're not all romantic and spontaneous. But that's actually what I want to talk to you guys about YuGiOh. If you know YuGiOh to a bigger understanding, then your games will go that much better. Seriously, learning how monster effects is the most important aspect of YuGiOh will make your YuGiOh games 50 million times better. So understanding how different monster effects and different classes of effects work is detrimental to winning a card game. It's going to be the deciding factor between you winning a YCS and you scrubbing out at locals. I'm TheCaliEffect, and if you guys want to see more videos like this, then go and destroy that subscribe button. But more importantly, go ahead and hit that notification bell because, well, we just too strong. I also want to give a special thanks to every single one of my Patreons. Without you guys, videos like this would not be possible. Also, mad shout out to our newest Patreon, Aether. I really hope, but I really do appreciate it. And I hope you enjoy the top dog. So without further ado, I present to you how monster effects work. And seriously, guys, if you try to get a lady, go learn ladies. I can't give you any advice because I'm a guy. Okay, so monster effects, like women, are extremely complicated. It's so many rules and details and wrinkles that you have to learn so you can actually be able to master them. I'm actually gonna separate this into two different videos. One, this one talking about the certain types of monster effects and identifying the monster effects, and then the latter video being able to talk about the card text. Now, there is something that I did teach you guys on the previous video before this one, is how monster effects activate and how timing works and all that other stuff, but I'm going to actually give you the link right now and then shorten it up just a little bit in this video. If the card has a colon, it activates, or a semicolon. Colon or semicolon, the monster effect activates. If it doesn't have a colon, it doesn't activate. Now that's going to be that excerpt from that video that you guys are going to take to here, which is going to help you identify those monster effects. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so there are 6 different types of monster effects. I'm going to be going to them one by one and giving you guys a couple of analogies to better explain how they work. I'm pretty sure after we're done with this video, you're going to understand how all 6 of these monsters effects work, and even more importantly, you're going to be able to identify the card just by looking at it. So the first monster effect that we want to talk about are ignition effects. Now, it sounds exactly how it sounds. You guys know when you get inside your car, you take a key, you put it into the ignition, and then you manually turn the ignition. Now, you're not necessarily doing all the work to start the ignition, but you manually turn the key to start it. That's exactly how ignition effects work in YuGiOh. Ignition effects are spell speed 1 effects. We might have to make a video about spell speeds a little bit later. let me know down below in the comment section, that require manual activation by you, the card's controller, and it only can be used during the main phase 1 or main phase 2. Now, a good way to identify these ignition effects are basically looking at the card text. They'll probably contain once per turn, you can, or during your main phase, followed by a cost, which will be a semicolon. I know, right? Colons actually come up. A really good example of an ignition effect is Blackluster Soldier's effect to banish an opponent's monster on the field. We can tell that is an ignition effect because it says once per turn in its card text, and then it follows up by target a monster on the field with a semicolon, meaning that targeting the monster is a cost. Then we get to banish that monster as a part of the resolution of Blackluster Soldier's effect. See, really simple to identify an ignition effect. We saw that it said once per turn, we saw the cost, and then we saw the resolution. Now, I think we have that pretty much down pat. Now, the next monster effect I want to talk to you guys about are trigger effects, and yes, they're exactly like how they sound. Think of it as you're walking through a safari jungle and you trip over a wire. That wire triggers, sending the giant spike to crush your body. Okay, maybe that's a little too graphic, but you're getting the point. Trigger effects are spell speed 1 effects for monsters that activate when a certain condition is met. You tripping over that wire being triggered because it falls. These monster effects are all over Yu-Gi-Oh! I think I have a really good example in Elemental Hero Stratos. Why? When Stratos is summoned, when you trigger the summon, when you actually perform a certain action or where a condition is met, then Stratos allows you to search an elemental hero monster from your deck to your hand, or allows you to destroy spells and traps on the field equal to the number of hero monsters on the field. Another great example of a trigger effect is Elemental Hero Shadow Mist. When he is summoned to your side of the field, or special summoned to your side of the field, you can add a match change card from your deck to your hand. You guys see, when something happens, you do another thing, or when it's sent from the deck to the graveyard, you can add one hero monster from your deck to your hand. I really hope that trigger effects are simple because they're pretty much it. That's pretty much it to it. When a certain thing happens, another thing happens. Now, like understanding what a woman wants, this is probably the hardest time or the hardest part to explain. Huh. This is pretty interesting. Quick effects. Quick effects are very intricate because they don't normally follow the rules of the other monster effects. Every single one of the other monster effects are spell speed 1. This one's spell speed 2. And spell speed 2, if you guys don't know, are card effects that can be activated during any time in the Yu-Gi-Oh card game. They're not restricted to how trigger effects work. When something happens, you do something else. They're not restricted to your main phase like ignition effects. You can activate them as long as you follow these 2 conditions. 1, it is the proper timing to activate the card effect. And B, it is not an open game state. So that's actually one of those things that you guys are like, huh? What do you mean open game state? We'll talk about that in another video because that is for a whole different conundrum. Quick effect monster effects are spell speed 2, and they can be identified by saying quick effect in its card text, or during either player's turn, step, or phase, or this is a quick effect in its card text, meaning that you can activate these cards in response to when your opponent activates something any given time. Or if your opponent is ending one of their phases, you can activate this, which is player priority. Again, we'll probably talk about that a little bit in depth into another video because that would take up so much time. But I hope you guys are understanding the gist of quick effects. Basically, you can activate them whenever you want to, as long as A, you can fulfill the certain condition, and B, it is not open game state, meaning that your opponent is leaving a phase, entering a phase, or using a card effect. A good example of quick effects is Legendary 6 Samurai Sheen. Its ability to negate an opponent's spell or trap card fulfills the perfect conditions because it says it's a quick effect. For bonus points, quick effects that say negate the activation of a card can be activated in the damage step because that's how the damage step works. But we'll talk about that a little later. Let's get to the next thing. The next type of monster effects aren't really monster effects at all. I like to think of them as like rules printed on the card. More often than not, these cards cannot be negated and there's nothing you can do about it. For example, Blackluster Soldier's summoning method cannot be normal summoned or set. Must first be spell summoned by banishing 1 light and 1 dark monster from your graveyard. Do not ask me why I know that verbatim. But that is a prime example of a condition. The effect of that cannot be negated. It cannot be bypassed until you get cards like big evolution pill that bypasses the card summoning method, but we're going to talk about that totally different. Another great example is Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon. Its effect that it cannot be used as a fusion material is another prime example of a condition. It can't be negated no matter if skill drain or effect filler is applied to the card, and it just is a rule printed on the card. There's really no way to identify it either. It's normally the first line of text, or it just says cannot do this, cannot do that. A lot of new cards say this effect cannot be negated, so that might help a little bit. Okay, so we get a little lighthearted on this next effect because it's really quick and extremely simple. Contiguous effects are monster effects that apply while the monster remains face up on the field. You guys want a great example of a continuous effect? YuGiOh. This is pretty much it. These monster effects will apply as long as they are on the field and don't have any colons, any semicolons whatsoever. They just normally state as long as this card is face up on the field or perform certain action. They probably won't even say as long as they're face up on the field. Literally, YuGiOh just says negate all of trap cards on the field. That's how you know it's a continuous effect. We don't see a semicolon, we don't see a colon. We know that the effect is always applied while it is on the field. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so we know we turn the ignition for ignition effects. We know that triggered effects get triggered. We know that quick effects can be activated at any given time. We know that conditions are restrictions, and we know that continuous effects are continuous. They always are always being applied. This effect is really hard to explain because the explanation of the effect is the explanation of not having an effect. Unclassified effects are really complicated. To be honest with you guys, I struggle with unclassified effects from time to time because of how they're worded. Normally they allow you to grant a specific function, and that's basically the trend on unclassified effects. Now, the official ruling or the official definition is they're effects that do not fit into any effect category. They are card effects that can potentially be negated by cards like skill drain, effect veiler. So they're similar to continuous effects, but they don't activate. So they're like continuous effects, but they're not continuous effects. And they can be negated like continuous effects, but they're not continuous effects, all right? There's a difference between continuous effects and unclassified effects. A really good example that really helped me identifying the difference between unclassified effects and continuous effects is Gem Knight Seraph Knight. Now, Gem Knight Seraph Knight has all the properties to be a continuous effect, but we know it's not because we can perform a certain action because of it. So you can think of it like a continuous effect that allows you to perform a certain action, but that might not hold true to every single classified effect. That's pretty much it though. I hope we wrapped this up really well with you guys. I know we actually gave you guys a couple of questions, how spell speed effects works, what is open game state, and we'll be able to answer that in a couple of other videos. Just let us know down below in the comment section that you guys want to see them. And then of course, like this video up. This is a series that I really like to do, but videos are always dictated by you guys and how you guys feel about the video, by likes. Thank you guys so much for watching another segment of The Cali Effect. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and give it a like. And if you didn't, let us know down below in the comment section why you can't get a girlfriend. Please like, comment, subscribe, but most of all, enjoy. I hope you guys are having a great day like I am.